Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop, and today we're taking a look at something cool. You probably recognize this, the xTool F1. I've had it for a couple years. I've taken it on the road to a number of shows, events. I've even taken it on vacation for fun. This has been the ultimate portable laser for me, and I've loved using it. But today we've got something in the shop that just might be better, and that's its new brother, the xTool F2. This is their newest version of this laser. They've kept the form factor the same, but they've given it some nice upgrades. The blue diode laser has now gone up from 10 to 15 watts, and the red IR laser has gone up from 2 to 5 watts, as well as adding lights and cameras and incorporating it into their new xTool Studio for some very easy creation. So I'm gonna give this a rundown, give you kind of an idea of how I've used this in portable engraving, and hopefully help you decide if it might be something good for your workshop. So if that sounds interesting to you, want to find out more, stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. And so let's take a closer look at this machine. Now, as you can hopefully tell, they did use the same form factor from the old F1 to the F2. There are some minor variations as to the outside, but it basically is going to fit in the same footprint and be able to use the same fixtures and jigs and such that you may have been using on the F1. So they both have protective sliding covers that just kind of easily come up and out of your way. But as you may notice, the xTool F2 has well lit. They have some nice LED light bars in there and make it much easier to see inside there. Now, I did enjoy the old green color of the original F1 and wasn't sure about how much I'd like the orange and kind of rose gold look of the xTool F2, but it is definitely growing on me, and between the lights and that orange covering, it is a lot easier to see inside. Now, they both have a nice handle that you can grab the laser by. They are not very heavy at all. The xTool F2 does have just a little extra weight to it, and I'll put that information down at the bottom of the screen there for you. But that is a great way to make them very portable. They're very easy to carry around that way. You don't want to knock them around a whole lot, but portability is definitely key with these two lasers. Now, sliding these back up, they do have this bottom plate which can come out, and you can replace that with various fixtures and jigs. For alignment, you can move that plate out and focus on a larger surface. So if you needed to engrave like a tabletop or an item that's bigger than what can fit in there, you can. And so it definitely has a lot of flexibility. Both of them, of course, have the manual focus knob. So you notice the two dots at the bottom there. As you move it, those dots will move closer together and then apart again. And so there's a manual way to focus them. It works the same on each one. It's nice and electronic and very smooth. Coming around to the side, you'll notice both of them do have, of course, the e-stop button. So they've kept that there. It's nice and accessible and easy to get at. And then the focus knob also works as an action button as well. Looking down at the side, they do both have their ports, one for connecting to the computer, one for connecting to an accessory such as a rotary or the slide table. But the F2 does have this kind of little extra placard bit here that just has the label, whereas the original F1 did not. Swinging around to the back again, still very similar. They both have the fan exhaust port on them, which will help with controlling your smoke and vapors, which can also be connected to the desktop portable fan unit via a hose, and then it can be linked via USB cable to another one of the accessory ports on back. This is a great tool and setup to have if you are going on the road and engraving to help cut down on the smoke and vapors. So they do also have your safety interlock key. This has to be in the laser for it to operate, and a power on-off switch, as well as an additional accessory port. And then the one difference you'll see is there is the extra port on this side, which the F1 doesn't have. And that is for the optional touch screen for offline control. Other than that, they do have very similar power bricks. This one is rated at 25 volt output and 6 amp for 150 watt, which is slightly higher than the F1, which was 24 volts, 5 amp for 120 watt. A couple other things that do come with the lasers, they do offer this nice cutting plate that's included. So if you're going to be cutting wood, acrylic and such, this allows there to be a nice gap underneath, allows airflow to move so you don't get staining underneath. They of course include USB cable for hooking up. You'll need to do that at least the first time to get it connected to xTool Studio. But after that, it can go on wireless network. They do provide you with one corner kind of a alignment piece, which can get screwed into the inserts at the bottom of the plate. Now, the stock laser does come with a lens cap and a tag, as you see on the F1. But my friend David over the Clack Shack designed this for his, and I have borrowed that idea, just a 3D printed one with a little more kind of just a notice as a reminder to pull that off before lasering. So he has a few 3D printed accessories for these lasers, and I'll link down to them below. So that's kind of the overview of the difference between the two. The highlights are that it has a higher blue diode rating at 15 watts over 10 watts. It has a higher IR rating at 5 watts over 2 watts of the original F1, which that's kind of the highest in these portable lasers I've seen as far as both the blue and the IR. It has that camera, it has the lights, and it has a higher top speed of 6,000 millimeters a second. That higher top speed is nice, but I will be honest, you're probably not going to have a lot of circumstances where that top speed is going to be used. It's really moving fast, and it's not going to have a big impact at that. But that coupled with the increased power is going to give you a speed boost. And we're going to take a look at that in just a little bit as we look at our material tests. I will have a link down below if you really want to dig into all the specs and information of the F2, as well as some comparisons to F1. So definitely check that link down below. But in the meantime, let's jump into the material tests. I know a lot of people are going to be curious, what is the performance upgrade from the F1 to the F2? Is it worth it? And so a lot of that's going to come down to speed. You've got the extra power, which should allow you to run certain things faster. So I started out with some cutting. This is a galvo style laser. The beam is up. The source is up in the top, and the beam is kind of directed at the working area through a couple of mirrors. That means it can go very fast, but the beam isn't encased in a kind of an air assist cone. And so the cutting is going to be a little bit limited from the lack of air assist. However, we can cut through various materials. And so one that I like to use with this is actually Basswood. So I took some 1/8" Basswood and ran some tests. I ran it first on the xTool F1, and these were the results I got. This is going from 7 up to 15 millimeters a second and from 60 to 100% power. And hopefully, as you can see there, just kind of cutting through here at this bottom quadrant of this gradient. So getting through at 7 millimeters a second from 80 to 100% power, and just squeaking out at 9 millimeters a second at 100% power there. And here's the back side of that. You see just a couple almost squeaking through at the top there. But those were the settings with the xTool F1. Ran from the same piece of Basswood, just another cut down. Same settings, again, 7 to 15% power. Forgive me, I didn't get the letter engravings there, so I kind of had to go back and mark them in pencil. But here you see definitely a higher gradient. Here they are side by side. And so we are cutting through all the way up at 12 millimeters a second and 100% power here at the top one. And then blasting through everywhere from 60 to 100% power down at 7 millimeters a second. So we are getting about a 30 to 33% increase in speed. And you can also see that on the back side of this F2 one, that'll get that to focus. Come on. So also on the back side, you do see that it was kind of getting close to cutting through on those other ones. So definitely some extra power and working well on 1/8" Basswood for this, and seeing that increase in speed with that increase in power. So what does this mean for you? Well, faster turnarounds. If you can cut your items out 1/3 of the time less, it's definitely going to create more productivity. So for example, if you're at a show and you're trying to do some customized cutting on some things, maybe you're going to make some custom earrings for someone, being able to take 1/3 of the time less means you can turn over more of those items in a day. Even if you're at home in the workshop, that increased productivity, but especially when you're on site, hopefully you have customers interested in what you're doing. If you get a long line and you can't engrave quickly enough, they're going to maybe wander off, look at something else, and you may lose a sale. So being able to cut faster is definitely a benefit there. Another material that is very popular is acrylic. Now, this being a blue diode, it is going to be somewhat limited into the darker, opaque, solid colors and not so much your transparent and translucent ones. So black acrylic really works best with diode lasers. So I ran a test on both of them, and so you can kind of see it here. Now, the letters aren't necessarily showing up very well. I'll see if I can get them in there. But as you can see here, I've got the F2 on this side here. We're getting through at 4 millimeters a second. This is a single pass, 80, 90, and 100% power. The F1 at 3 millimeters a second, 80, 90, and 100% power. So there again, about another 25 to 30% jump in speed on acrylic as well. Now, one thing that's also very nice about this laser is that 50 megapixel camera. It is with the smaller working area and the high resolution, it makes it fairly accurate. So I had pre-cut out some of these acrylic stars to run a test. I wanted to see how well I could align the star to it. And so ran it first with the blue diode. Now, I was trying to align this by hand in the software to the existing piece. They do also have some AI tools that will help with alignment, but my workflow is generally, let's drop it in and let's get the first one aligned. And so I dropped this in there, ran the test. It went okay. The blue diode doesn't give as nice of a contrast as the IR, but I wanted to see how it would do. And these are just using the stock settings in xTool Studio. But what I was really impressed with is when I looked at the engraving and looked where the camera had placed it, it was within a fraction of a millimeter. And so very nice alignment with the camera. Now, they of course do have the framing tool that will also show you the outline of the artwork. So a combination of the two are going to be really what you use to really dial in the alignment. But I was very happy to see how well that worked out. And then just to show you the IR on the same test, here it is. And this is one of the other beautiful things about both the F1 and the F2 is being able to do both functions in blue diode or IR on materials, whereas IR, you get this really brilliant contrast. It is a smaller dot size at 0.3 millimeter compared to about the 0.7 of the blue diode spot size. So you are going to have to increase your lines per centimeter for this, otherwise you will start getting gaps. And so in that vein, the IR for the same amount of fill is going to be a little bit slower than the blue diode. But in this case, looking at the two, you definitely get a much better contrast here for just a little bit of a sacrifice in the speed of the job for a much brilliant look. So another thing I like to do with these lasers on site is to play around with business cards. And so these can be the anodized aluminum or the coated aluminum cards. And you can do that to make some of your own business cards. You can make them for other creators at the show to maybe be able to do a little business to business work, but you can also do photorealistic engravings. There is a material test tool within xTool Studio. So I did run that, even though they do have some, their guidelines and their presets for a variety of materials. They have a whole library of those materials. Are really good. They get you really close in the ballpark, but I really like to dial it in per material. So I kind of took their setting of around 2000 millimeters a second and went a little bit above that and a little bit below that. And this is with the IR laser, and you kind of see how it is coming out there. So I did go ahead and run my business card on there a few times, playing around with the speed on that, and I was able to get to this down to just under a minute for doing this full engraving. And you know, the QR code does take a little bit. It's a lot of different detail there and the various text and whatnot. So with the F1, I was getting these done in about a minute and a half. So again, we're seeing a good speed increase in there. But you can also run this with the blue diode laser, and this is just an example of why you might want to compare the two. So both of these are decent engravings. The difference is this one is just kind of removing the coating and showing that kind of metallic undercoat, that metal underneath. And so that may be the look you're going for. You want that nice shiny metal, but the IR is going to take that aluminum and just kind of give it that nice white frosting. And so depending on what look you're going for, you might want to play around with those. But a great thing with this laser is you've got both those sources in the same laser. You can set up the same job and just switch between the two and do a little bit of playing around. Now, this laser is very detailed. It's got the capability to do some very quality images. And so took the business cards, and once again, I ran with the stock settings in XCS to do this kind of Toad playing a guitar in a rainy street. And I'll try to get it to focus on there for you. And it came out okay, but I was not liking how dark it was. So did a little bit of playing just to increase the power from 35 to 50% power, and this is how it came out. And that is really nicely detailed. So this was done at 160 dot duration, 50% power, 400 DPI, and Jarvis using that IR laser on a black coated card. I like doing that with the IR because it does, again, it kind of frosts that aluminum, and instead of giving it just kind of the shiny metal, which gives, I think, more contrast, and really came out well. So here's the two side by side. Like I say, sometimes their settings are just a guide, and sometimes your material is just slightly different. I just needed to increase the power a little bit, but a really nice detail on that. And this only took about 4 minutes and 20 seconds to mount this whole business card size. So again, something fun you can do. You could take photos at events and engrave them from people, and really show off the power and the detail of the laser and the abilities on these metal cards. So having that IR module means you can work with a lot of different metals. We showed some aluminum cards there. Well, here is a brass token, and just to kind of show you the type of engraving you'll get with brass on that IR module. This is just a couple of passes at a pretty high speed. This is the stock brass speed, and it gives it a very nice frosted look. I've played around with IR modules, and you can run slower, maybe a little bit hotter, and get more of like a toasted brown look, or you can use some marking spray and maybe get a darker black look. But with brass, it's really going to be this more white frosted look. And so little tags like this, it's good to have a number of different styles. Great for making pet tags or baggage tags, backpack tags, things like that. You can really crank these out quick. I think this took about 15 to 20 seconds to do that little small engraving on there, and people will love that. It's a quick turnaround thing. The blanks are cheap. The time isn't too long, and you can make your own jigs like this. Now I cut these out on a different laser like the S1 or the P2, and you can create your own jigs. So have it set up to where you just have to drop your text or your image into the box. So for example, I'll do this with dog tags, and I put 2 in there because sometimes I'm doing double-sided stuff. So I will have maybe the event name and date on there, and then maybe a picture or my maker mark on the other side and things like that. And so you can run one side on the same job, do top and bottom, and then flip them over and do the other. So this is some anodized aluminum dog tags in this custom jig. This took 21 seconds to do both top and bottom tag together. So it would be under a minute. You got 2 tags done both sides. This is done with the IR laser. This is done about 70% power, 1,000 millimeters a second, 300 lines per centimeter in a single pass. Again, this is just using the stock settings within xTool Studio. They make it very easy for you to kind of get in that ballpark and be able to get going on these things without a lot of extra testing. Another item that is great to do on site is you can get these kind of sticky back dual tone leather tags. xTool sells these along with other people, but these are great. This was done again with the IR laser. Some colors actually prefer the blue laser, but this one was with the IR laser. So this is a gold undertone that's revealed when you laser away that kind of top covering. These are great because you can do a custom design on site for people. They can take it home, they can apply it, add maybe just a little bit of heat, and they've got a great tag, whether it's putting it on maybe some clothing, on a bag, whatever they want to do. These tags aren't very expensive, but they're easy to customize to whatever your customer wants. So another thing that is going to be popular with this, and something you can do on site, is engraving some jewelry. So this is actually a rose gold colored stainless steel pendant. And went ahead and used the camera, but also doubled up with the framing just to make sure I had this spot on. So this is a very fine detailed item. And we ran this with the IR module, 80% power, 100 millimeters a second, 200 lines per centimeter. And this engraving on here took all of 10 seconds to get done. And it's really hard to get this to pick up on camera, but This is, again, the types of things you can do with this. The camera alignment, I've been very happy with this one, along with doubling up with that kind of outline framing, are going to give you the confidence to be able to customize jewelry that, you know, maybe a little bit expensive, and get it positioned right. Now, if you're working with some more exotic metals, you may want to make sure you've got some good settings. The stainless steel coated jewelry blanks, much more forgiving, much cheaper, especially if you maybe have an accident, mess it up. So you might want to pick up some blanks like this. You can offer custom engravings of people's special dates, maybe their names, things like that. These can be a good seller depending on your market. So when you're on site engraving, one of the things that's very useful, like I mentioned earlier, is to have a variety of jigs. And there's the wooden ones you can make your own, or there are definitely ones out there that are 3D printed. You can find these in a number of places. If you have your own 3D printer, you can find some of these files online. Otherwise, my buddy Sam Craft does offer a number of these that he's created for the F1. And so far, all the ones that I've tested with this, like the business card one, there's also the square and round tile one. They all work great. You set up a template that will put the outline of where these are at, and then you drop your item in there and fill in your template with whatever you want to engrave and hit go. This is a great way to do repeated cuts over and over, repeated engravings over and over, and not have to worry about checking that alignment each time. So whether you buy them, whether you make your own, setting up jigs for some of your common items is going to greatly increase your productivity on site or even at home. So a quick example of that is this pen and pencil jig. I went ahead and lined these up and then just made sure that the template was hitting the pencils in the correct spot. Then went ahead and added some text. And so if you can see that, these actually say bite between the lines. You know, I don't know if you were as a kid or biting on your pencils, this just gives you a little guide, but that's just kind of the fun thing you can do. You can add whatever sort of engravings onto these as you want. You could do this with certain pens as well, switching between the blue diode laser for more natural materials or the IR for some plastics and or metals. Using some jigs and using this laser, you can quickly batch out a number of items. These 5 pencils I was able to run, I did do 2 passes just to get it darker, but each pass to do all 5 was 13 seconds. So you could definitely crank out a lot of pencils in a hurry. So that was a bunch of the material tests I did and some of the sample projects that I find very useful with this laser. There are more that I do. I want to touch a bit more on slate tile engraving. Coasters are another big product and project that this works well for. As a matter of fact, with the F1, I did a cool video comparing using the blue diode to the IR and some different ways to prepare the slate tile and giving you some comparison. I may repeat that with the F2 to see if we have some increase in speed or changes to that, but you might want to check out that video as well. As to who is this laser for, I really feel the key market for this laser are people that were wanting to take this laser on the go. You want to do on-site engraving. One of the cons to it is that smaller working area, but that's the pro in it's portable. There are definitely some lasers out there, such as the xTool S1, that are going to give you a bigger working area and still have that flexibility with the modules if you want to do cutting and engraving on both natural materials like wood and fabric versus, you know, slate and plastics. And you're going to get a bigger working area and maybe just a slight bigger cost. So if you're looking for a shop-based machine, that's probably the way you're going to want to go. Other people that might be looking at this laser are going to be people that have limited workspace. Maybe you have just a small crafting area indoors, coupled with the smoke purifier, or ideally venting it out a window, but you just need a small compact area for doing small things. This might be the laser for you. It's very easy to set up on a workbench, do your engraving, and then tear back down and put away. So you are paying for that convenience of that size, but it really makes up for it if those are your case needs. If you want to check out more, I will have links down below to this laser. They will be affiliate links, and when you use those, it does tell xTool you appreciated my content, and it does provide me with a small commission from them at no extra cost to you. I will include any sales information that I can. Those do change over time, so I'll try to keep that up to date, and so you can definitely take advantage of any extra savings there. But definitely check out the website for more information on this laser, and I appreciate you using my links to support me as well. Once again, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was informative for you. And like I say, I will follow this up with some more detailed projects, as well as any ideas that you leave down below. So definitely hit that comment section, hit that like button on the way out. And if you're new here, hey, consider subscribing to my channel. I do a number of product reviews like this. I do a lot of projects, as well as instructional tutorial type things. And I go live here Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Central with David from the Clack Shack. We talk about new lasers, new projects, but we answer a lot of your questions direct. So if you have questions and you want to try to get it answered live, join us here at 7 p.m. Central on Sunday nights. We come on here for 2 hours and just have a good conversation with you. So I hope to see you there, or I hope to see you in a future video. But most of all, I hope you can get out into your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.